This is Dr. Quinlan with Quinlan Chiropractic Clinic from Coppell, Texas, and you're listening to the Dunham Business Radio Show.
Hi there, this is Lori Dunham with Dunham Business Radio. We won the 2019 Gray Bowl Show of the Year. We also got an award for community service, and I can't thank you enough for all of your support. We are on the next level, and we're going higher, and I can't do it without you, and I'm so grateful. Thank you so much, and stay tuned in. Hi everybody, this is Lori with Dunham Business Radio. I am super excited about what's coming up here this summer. We are going on the next level. And you know what? We're doing it for you. You helped us grow. You helped our numbers just increase, and we're making an impact on entrepreneurs all around the world. We're coming to North American cities near you. And I am super excited to announce that we are collaborating with CK Productions, an award-winning film production company out of New York City. We're filming a documentary that will depict the journey of the entrepreneur. You know, we've come through an amazing time in 2020. We survived, but you know, there's a lot of businesses out there that need help, and we are on the forefront, and we want to help them.
Right now, we're looking for your contribution, your help to make this amazing project happen. We want to put a focus on small businesses, especially after the crazy year we have all endured.
If you've been listening to Lori's radio program, you know what a powerful storyteller she is and how she connects people and local leaders in businesses. So consider making a donation to make the ripple effect a reality.
Support this event and this amazing documentary because it highlights the superheroes in our country. From day to day, people go in from 9 to 5, but business owners go in, as we know, from 8 to 8. Those 12-hour days that we go day after day, there's no weekends, there's no vacations. And during the pandemic, we've done everything we could to stay open. A lot have closed their doors, and maybe this event will inspire them to reopen or help each other learn how to succeed in business in the future.
It costs a lot of money to bring an event like this to your city, and we're asking for your help, your financial contribution. Please dig down deep. Help us to make a ripple effect and a positive impact in the lives of small businesses and entrepreneurs right there in your hometown.
In addition to supporting a bunch of small businesses around the country, we're also looking to support local nonprofits in each one of our amazing cities we'll be visiting. A portion of all of our ticket sales will be donated directly to these local nonprofits so they can continue making a difference within their communities.
So at the end of the day, if you're riding on the fence of whether or not you should attend this event or even step up to the plate and be a part of it, I mean, you never know where it's going to take you. The people that you meet and the people that you get close to and create a network with, well, that could eventually become your net worth. So being in a room of like-minded people, like-minded individuals who have a goal, who have a dream, who want to grow in their business, and just being in the space where you can get a piece of that and catch some fire that might propel you to where you want to go, that's priceless, really.
We are giving back to our supporters, both here and afar. We're going city to city supporting small business and entrepreneurs and leaders in local areas as well as nonprofits.
We're going to be out there with positive vibes, connecting businesses, connecting local leaders. You're going to get a big boost of energy.
I get so emotional when I talk about being an entrepreneur. You're called to be an entrepreneur. And if you don't answer that, you know, you're really not honoring something that is truly can impact the world. I really do believe that.
I'm excited to be a part of this event because it gives me the opportunity to really talk about what I'm passionate about. That is health and wellness and helping not only individual people, but companies.
I'm looking forward for this event. Honestly, every event I go to, it's like it brings joy to my heart, because I just love seeing everyone. I love the people. I love talking to everyone. And especially after the COVID and speaking to the camera, I just want to see everyone live.
I want to show the world that small business owner is so important that we need to stand up and support them together. Because without them, our world will be broken.
It's very important as a business owner to invest. Sometimes we invest in things that do not have a return on investment, and we never feel okay about that missed opportunity. But this is an opportunity you don't have to miss out on. The return on investment is not just dollars in your pocket, it's the exposure, it's the education, and it's the fact that you know you're a part of the ripple effect for your community. That ripple effect is the ROI that is endless and endless on return.
Check out all the information on our page to learn more about our project, to learn about our documentary, and to learn how you can help out and other ways you might be able to help out beyond donating.
We need your help. We need your financial support. We're not pulling any punches here. We want to make a difference, and our project, The Ripple Effect, is going to make an impact in the lives of people around the country. Please dig down deep. Help us make this an amazing tour, and help us make this event something that will make history.
Live from Arlington, Texas, it's the Dunham Business Radio Show. And here's your host, Lori Dunham.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Dunham Business Radio Show. I'm your host, Lori Dunham, and we have another amazing day ahead of us. It's a great night, and here in, where are we? We're in Arlington. Yes, Arlington, Texas. You know, we are an international radio show, and sometimes I forget where we are. So super excited that you're here. Please let your friends know. We've got a great guest tonight. We're going to talk about marketing and business, and of course that's what we do, right? We talk about business, but our guests, they're just really great, and I can't wait for you to meet them. We've been having some great conversations off camera a little bit, and it's been a wonderful time together to meet them, and can't wait to do the same thing for you. Ping your friends and let them know that we are here. I'm super excited for you to join us tonight. We have a great guest. And we're going to be talking about marketing and branding and just have an amazing time together. So also want to remind you that my book, the Start Amazon Store Without Getting Hurt, that book is available as a digital download, and you can give 20% from every sale back to a nonprofit organization of your choice. So please visit startamazonstore.com and get your digital download today. So let's just jump right in. I'd love to introduce you to our guests. Kathryn and Michael K. Redman are sweethearts. They're really great people, fantastic people. They're best friends, and their husband and wife team behind the company, Half a Bubble Out, HABO for short. It's a marketing and business consulting firm. And in the last 18 years, they have built and run 2 successful 7-figure companies. They are authors, and they have helped business leaders across the world grow what they call passion and provision companies. They're excited about teaching their success stories to other business owners, helping them to reconnect with their passion, seeing financial success, and once again, loving the business that they're in. And here to tell us more about their journey and about their book, please help me make welcome Kathryn and Michael Redman to the show. Welcome.
Hi there, how you doing?
Hello. Thank you guys so much for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
So let's just jump right in. Tell us a little bit more about who you are. I know you're in California, but tell us a little bit more about who you are exactly.
Who are we? Tell her who we are.
You go.
So So we're the Redmans. We've been in business for 18 years, been married for over 27 years. We have a beautiful daughter who's 24 years old and swore the entire time she was growing up she would never work for us. Now she works full-time for us.
Lo and behold, wrong again.
We have a great small staff and team that works with us that has been with us a long time. And we work with folks, business leaders, small and medium-sized businesses, to really help them build passion and provision companies. And for us, those are companies that are filled with profit, purpose, and give you the opportunity to leave the legacy you want. And we just believe so much in business, and we're doing our best to fight the business failure rate. And it's horrible, it's awful that so many businesses fail. And so we're doing everything we can to work with as many businesses as we can to teach them what we've learned, and then what we've teach other companies, and what we've learned with consulting a lot of companies over the last 18 years. The small and medium-sized companies that are maybe a startup to 4 or 5 people to maybe 300 employees. And we've seen so many different phases of growth and how those companies work well and how we've been able to weave it in. So the fact is we actually at one point hated coming to work, and we didn't know what to do, and we had to fix it. And we had actually hit the jackpot. And we had grown 400% in 18 months.
Okay, so you haven't even breathed. So I'm going to tell the rest.
I just whoosh. I get going sometimes, and I don't stop.
That's the passion. That's the passion. And then he teaches you how to have that passion. So yeah, pay attention, everybody.
Exactly. Yeah. So we had hit a point. It was 2008. 2009, during the Great Recession, we actually had hit a niche and we were growing. And so we grew 400% through that recession, which was kind of crazy times. But what ended up happening was that we realized we hit a point where we literally pulled up into our parking lot on a Monday morning and did not want to cross the threshold into the company that we had created. So we had been in the early days of our company, we'd experienced what I would call being passionate about running a company, but struggling with the provision piece, right? As you're just starting and you're learning and you're trying to find clients. And so we had done that, but this was provision. Like we were cash flow happy. And so for most entrepreneurs, you're like, that's all I need. As long as there's money, I'm going to be happy. And we had money and we were miserable. The company had grown beyond our leadership. We weren't managing it well. We made some decisions about hiring too quickly, where the folks that we hired weren't a good fit for us and we weren't a good fit for them. So there was just about 100 things that were all wrong. So when we came through that season, because we laugh, we talk about how we will say from 2008 to 2010, we grew 200%. But we did that by growing 400% and then losing half that business.
Ouch.
So it all depends on how you tell the story, right?
Yeah.
So we did grow 200%, but it was a very, very painful sort of whoop.
Growing a business is never a straight line, and we proved that immensely at that point in our life.
Yeah. So we decided it was time to kind of retool and go back to the beginning and figure out, where did this go wrong? How do we fix it? And so that's kind of what started the journey that ultimately led us to the book that we call Fulfilled, which is passion and provision, and those two working together, not choosing one or the other. So that's a rapid fire who we are and how we got here.
Boom, boom, boom. Okay, that was great.
Okay.
All right, it's great to have you on the show. See you later. No, no. So you mentioned in the beginning, one of your passions, one of the things you're aiming to do, your mission, I should say, is to change the failure rate. And right now, what is it? Most businesses fail within the first 5 years, or is it still the first year?
You know what? There's increments that most of the research, it's kind of hard because there's a lot of different research from everywhere, but we've been looking at stuff over the last 40 years. And there's a 2-year mark, a 5-year mark, and roughly a 10-year mark. But ultimately, most people are agreeing that 80 to 90% of businesses fail.
Within the first 5 years.
They don't survive.
Kind of across the board. And it's been that way for a long time, right? So we know in 2020 that that's just going berserk. But I'm not even sure when we get through 2020 and into 25, 30, that we won't look back and it'll still average out about the same.
Yeah.
an interesting challenge, because when you have 80 to 90% failing when the economy is good or bad, it just seems to be kind of this consistent failure rate that's happening. And we just think that's awful.
It's criminal.
Yeah.
And so we've just, how do you help? Because first of all, economically, we need it. We need the companies to survive. The backbone of our country is built on small and medium-sized businesses, privately held businesses. And then from there, you have this whole idea of, you know what, these are people's dreams. It's like, when you look at a sheet of statistics, you can go, well, there's a bunch of businesses that went out, but each one of those businesses is people who put all their money in. Like we were talking before the show, you sunk everything you have in, and then all of a sudden you go, this didn't work. My dreams are gone. My money's gone.
Sometimes you borrowed from your family. Sometimes, you know, all these relationships get compromised because you swore to them this would work and it didn't. And it's just messy.
We had a client once that hired us. We had told him, look, you're going to need to spend a minimum of $10,000 a month, and for your area and your market and everything else for what you want to do. And they were great. And they were all excited, and they signed the contract and everything was great. I remember getting into this, and it wasn't a week or two in, this gentleman who owned the company said, well, we really need this to work because we only have $10,000. And I borrowed that from our office manager who was on the phone. And I'm like, and I just, at that moment, I was like, we'd already spent some of the contract. It was already done. Or I would have just said, here's your money back, because we can't. And they were so like, I gave them every warning in the book. I'm like, I don't hold those expectations. Things don't just take off in a month. And they were like, well, let's just try. And we tried, and we managed to make it 2 or 3 months, and then they just couldn't hold on. And that was sad. But it didn't have to be like that. No. If there had been more education and more perspective, even though he had a successful business, he assumed that he understood how it worked. And this next new venture just crushed him.
I hate that when businesses get crushed. I mean, there's a difference between, you know, giving it your best shot and then failing, and then there's a crushing or a shredding. Oh, that's devastating.
Yeah, the crushing is horrible, but I'll tell you what, Lori, the other thing that's horrible is people who just feel like they're treading water, and they can't get past the feeling like they're always going to be stressed and freaking out and never know if they're going to be able to make payroll. And so a lot of businesses don't close because they go bankrupt. They close because the owners just get worn out. Like, I just can't keep doing this and not achieving goals and not, you know, you start a business often because you're looking for freedom and you're looking for control of your own schedule and all those things that entrepreneurism brings. And yet what sometimes happens is you discover that actually it's sucking up most of your life. It's wrecking relationships because you're putting so much time and energy into it. Yeah. It's not financially profitable. And so people just get worn out.
Yeah.
You know, and we really believe that so much of that could be prevented if there was some core education that went in at kind of at the beginning, for sure, but even a little ways in is okay too, because, you know, we learned a ways in and we're able to figure out how to kind of turn the ship around and get back sailing to where we love our business again and love our team and all those good things. But without that core education, without understanding kind of holistically how to run a business, knowing how to make a widget isn't going to make a successful business.
Right.
You got to know how to run a business. Right. So many entrepreneurs have no business education, or they come out of a job and think they can create a business, and they don't have enough understanding of the various components that make up a whole business. So they just get stuck.
Yeah, that's what's really great about this show. I mean, we have entrepreneurs from all different walks of life. We even have biz kids. And recently we had a biz kid. He was 16, I think he was. And he had an idea. He hadn't even graduated high school yet. And we were talking about whether he was going to go to college and what he was going to study. Yeah. And so he said, well, you know, I want to do something along the lines of my business, you know, what I'm passionate about. And I just jumped out there and I said, if it's okay with you, I'd like to give you some guidance. And I would suggest learning marketing, learning accounting, learning finance, learn a business, take business courses, because you're passionate. You already know how to do what you're passionate about. So study the business, because your passions may change. As you get older, you may not want to do this thing anymore. You may want to do something else. And having that foundation is going to help you get to where you want to go the next step. And I had so many viewers and people reach out after the show and said, that's like the best advice you could give a biz kid, because they get sometimes pigeonholed, like, or blinders, right? They want to just do what they're passionate about. And I'm not saying don't be passionate, but sometimes your passions will make you poor.
Well, and it's true. And one of the things that's a great lead in, because one of the things we talk about is in the book is defining what we mean by passion. Because there's a couple of different ways that people can define passion. And one is one of those things that is the thing I'm interested in at the moment, which and a lot of people have chased their passions into business, and the passions are either fleeting or, because of what you're saying, you grow through different things. This interested me yesterday. This interests me tomorrow. It may be in a few years, or you may have 5 different passions this year, depending on your personality. And
if you're an intuitive thinker, you might have 15,
Guilty.
Like anyone I know.
So when you do these things, you have to look at, what do we mean by passion? And what we mean by passion is really at a core, a deeper thing than a flitting passion or a flitting desire is, what is something that you believe so much in, that you value so much, that not only you're willing to suffer and work through it and exhibit some delayed gratification for it. That's an important aspect, because if you're willing to actually do things that you don't necessarily want to do or really enjoy doing so that you can get that passion, so you can get to that goal in that place, that's the first thing that's real critical, because then there's some determination, some consistency, because some people very, very legitimately say this whole passion thing is going to make you broke. And I totally understand it when you define it that way. But when you look at going through something deeper and then looking at passion not as something that you're trying to achieve, but as an outcome of working on something that you have gifts, talents, and skills that you've developed, and that there's a natural propensity for it. Because if you can work on those things, if you can do, if your daily job could be 51%, at least minimum, of those things that you're gifted, talented, and skilled, developed skills, then out of that, especially if you focus on a purpose, something that's out beyond you, beyond the group of people you're in, then all of a sudden you're going to develop a certain amount of energy and momentum that's going to give you the grit to move through, because you're going to get done at the end of the day and you're going to do what we call labor versus toil. Toil is when you're pushing that rock up the hill and then it falls down and you got to start over again.
Get run over.
Yeah. But labor is when you get to work on something that at the end of the day, I may have worked really hard, but you feel good about your work because you accomplished something. You move closer towards the ultimate goal or task, and you can take pride in it.
Yeah, and you know why you're doing it, right?
That's exactly what I was going to say, is you got to have a why. And I've heard that, in the last several shows that we've done, it's about finding your why. And if it's strong enough, you're going to just keep pushing forward, and hopefully you won't get burnt out. But even if you've got a why, sometimes you get burnt out, and that's where your training comes in, right? Your ideas of provision and passion come together, right?
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah. Well, and when we put it all together, and we would say to any entrepreneur out there, you have to have a model. It doesn't have to be our model, but you need a business model. It's amazing how many entrepreneurs don't even have a business model. And ours starts with vision in the center, which is this whole concept of the why, right? It's really understanding, what is my core purpose? What are my values? What am I aiming for? And why does it matter? Kind of 4 parts of a vision. So we talk about that as kind of being central, because ultimately, when you're moving through the areas that are difficult, that if you have 51% of stuff that you do in your day is within your gift package, part of the reality is there's 49% that you got to do if you're going to run a business. So it's super important that you understand kind of the longer term impact, so that when you're tired, or when you have a day where it was 85% of your day that was spent doing the things that you don't love, you can still keep going, because true passion results in perseverance.
Yeah.
Right. And really, to use a Christian reference, which for some listeners will have an impact and some won't, but they don't call it the passion of the Christ for nothing. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the passion was actually saying, this is my goal, and I'm going to continue this, and I'm going to follow it through no matter what.
Yeah.
So passion is it's a squirrely word for people, but we really do believe it's finding that thing that you are really good at. And I'll say, for me, I'm a generalist, right? So a lot of times when we think about starting a business, we think about the person who's the specialist at something, right? They're really good at this, therefore they're going to start a business doing this. I'm a generalist. So where do I get my passion? Right? Well, I get it from, first of all, knowing why we're doing it and kind of what matters. I love working with people, and I like solving problems. So if I do something that makes your day easier, I'm having a good day. And it could be like something so little, but that's using my gifting, right? So even for somebody who's a generalist, you find those places where even the menial tasks can become something that's quite rewarding. So
it's really cool you say that, because I guess that's what I would identify myself, in my company outside of the radio show. We connect, promote, and solve business problems across multiple platforms. And what I find very easy to do, whether it's tech support or some type of business strategy, or just talking over what your problems are and then filling those needs with people in my network, to me, that's easy. And I had a mentor tell me recently, just because you find it easy doesn't mean that they do. I mean, if they found it easy, they wouldn't need you. Right. So that's why I'm here. Right. So I guess I'm a generalist too. I don't really specify exactly one particular industry. And I guess that's why this show is why it's so successful, is that we don't talk about one particular thing. We talk about an area, an entrepreneurship, and how to be successful doing that.
Well, and that's a great point, because business is a combination of skills and fundamentals. For us in our business model, there's 6. Starts with vision. And then we've got 5 others that are critical. And for us, it starts with leadership after vision, marketing or management, marketing and sales. Then you've got culture and finance. And so the whole book walks through each one of those core fundamentals. But even going back to the advice you gave to the young man who is still in high school. Yeah.
The biz kid.
I mean, I think it was great, because if you don't have the fundamentals underneath you, you're going to miss something. I mean, it's really hard to run a business. Mm-hmm. And, it's easy to get lucky. We have several friends who get lucky. When we grew 400%, I would say there was a lot of preparation there, but we were waiting for a moment to happen that we had no control over. We did a lot of stuff to try and get our name out and everything else, but you had one of those moments, and we were able to capitalize on it. And the way we capitalized it enough, we had enough fundamentals underneath us to survive that, but it was like a bad wipeout when you're surfing. It's just...
I was good enough to get up on the board, but boy, did that landing hurt.
Yeah, ouch.
We just wanted to survive to go out and go back out and catch another wave. And we were fortunate to, but when you walk through that, you said earlier, to avoid burnout, man, if you don't have wisdom in the midst of it, if you don't understand the fundamentals of business anyway, and then you don't have wisdom and an ability to go, okay, my business also isn't my entire life. Mm-hmm. One of the really important goals for us when we started the company obviously it started with, okay, we need to pay for, the bills and meet the needs of the family.
Mortgage must happen.
We're going to do this. Being homeless isn't going to help us if we're running a company.
No.
We wanted to make sure that it actually created more freedom for us, because when we were doing stuff before, we had a couple of different careers, and for a while Kathryn was selling software to city, county governments across the country. So she was traveling an immense amount, and our daughter was young. So we were trying to figure out how to pull that back so that wasn't happening as much for Kathryn and for our daughter and for me.
Sadly, it was before FaceTime, so it's,
that didn't exist. And then when we looked at it, then we said, okay, if we can make the bills and we get ourselves a little bit more quality time left in life, we'll be good. But we've got to make sure that the marriage doesn't suffer and the relationship with the daughter doesn't suffer. Because I grew up in a small business family, and we grew up in the town we're in now. We actually left for several years, but I grew up in this town, and Kathryn moved here when she was in 6th grade. We went to the same elementary school together. And
I know, isn't that sweet?
And so
we were in the HaBO when I was in 6th grade and he was in 4th grade. We were in the HaBO.
I love that story.
I was older than him, so I really didn't care. But go ahead, sorry.
You too. I'll just sit here and listen.
It's girl talk now,
Right. Sorry, when I was a senior in high school and he was a sophomore,
she really didn't care.
Really didn't care. Thought he was awesome.
And then she fell.
And you are married 27 years. So.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, awesome. And in our town, there's lots of small businesses. We're in a university town. Lots of small business. I work for a lot of couples. There were things in small businesses that happened, like the marriage doesn't survive. Relationship with the children doesn't survive. The kids hate the parents. There's the situation where you've got a husband and wife in business together and all the employees hate it because one of them knows what they're doing. The other one is just kind of there being annoying to everybody. So we were trying to go, okay, how do we make sure that we protect our marriage, protect the relationship with our daughter, and continue to invest in it? And then how do we have a staff when we grow as a team? How do we make sure that we don't make it miserable for them and they don't hate us? And you're going to make mistakes and people aren't going to always like what you're doing. So we're not trying to build that up. But when you say I have actually expectations and I have standards and core values of things that we're going to achieve as we grow this, and it's going to be hard, and we're going to have to solve some bigger problems, because it's going to be easy to solve some problems, or easier. We don't care about the marriage, we don't care about our daughter, and we don't care about our staff. If we just don't care about people, it's a lot easier to solve some problems. And so in the midst of it, we said, we're going to do it. And we realized that it was possible. And when it was really hard, when we were growing at 400%, we just said, let's double down, get the mentors, get the coaches, grow our leadership, and get some more education under us. And we did. And we were able to accomplish it. And when we say 80 to 90% of businesses fail, what I didn't know is another statistic I ran across this last year was only 4% of businesses that survive make it to 7 figures.
Really?
4%.
Wow.
And I felt really, really grateful that we'd done it twice. I mean, even once. And it was hard work, but doing it and moving past that 7-figure mark and going, okay, part of our life, and this is one of the reasons we wrote the book, was it is really a key part of who we are to give back and to teach and to train and equip. So if we get to also, as part of our business grows in the training and coaching and development of other leaders, not just business consulting, then we find that place where our gifts, talents, skills intersect with a commerce opportunity. And all of a sudden you start to build value and give value in that place. And it gives us that energy to continue to move forward and stick with it because it's worth it. And once we wrote the book, we said, as we were writing the book, we said, we're giving the next 25 years of our life to this purpose.
I'm older, important. So I'm only giving 20.
Nice.
No, but it really was that I really like, I'm so bad, but we really did say this is something we can commit to. Like, and cause you've written a book, part of part of the value of writing a book is the opportunity to reach more people than you can bring into your office, right?
Right.
So we work with, a lot of companies here in Chico, but there's a lot of folks who, if they're starting out, first of all, they can't afford to hire a marketing consulting or a business consulting people. They're just not in a position to do that. So we wanted to be able to say, okay, we've learned all this stuff. How do we package it in a way that is palatable and helpful?
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the most gratifying things that we had said about the book upon just releasing it and stuff was one of the women who works with primarily entrepreneurs in her realm said it was like reading a mini MBA for entrepreneurs. And that was super gratifying because it was like, okay, that's what we wanted to do. We really wanted to put together something that people could actually take in and go, okay, all right, now I need to go learn more about this, and I can dig in here and I can go over here. But I have a basic sort of foundation to begin to build on. Mm-hmm. So that's something that we're very excited about. And, we have the book, we created a course that people can enroll in and take online to learn more. So all those things are there, but we're just super excited about that because we really want to impact the business failure rate and just help more people live into their dreams and, get what they were going after when they started.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's, as an entrepreneur, there's the term, the solopreneur, right? So that's the one person, it's up to them to get it done. And then we, talk about shoestring budgets and, people want to chase their dream, their heart's desire, their passions to help other people doing whatever, whether it's a service or a product-based business. And then you get to the point where, you've done a lot. Now you've got some sales coming in and you realize you need some help. And so you touched on this earlier, how you may have hired the wrong people or you hired too fast. What is some advice you could give back to our audience about when do you make that decision to hire? And, I think the number one rule, like, don't hire your family, don't hire your friends. Don't do it. I mean, because it might seem like it's cheap labor, but it will destroy relationships. And so where do you go to find good quality people without having the worry of, payroll? And what do you think about hiring?
Well, I'm laughing. I'm going to tell you something that one of my former bosses at this very large company that I worked for, where I sold software, I remember going to a party with her and just saying, Judy, when did you stop worrying about payroll? And at that point, there was like 350 employees, right? So I'm thinking and we were probably, 5 or 6 years in, when did you stop worrying about payroll? And she said, I've never stopped. And I'm like, dang it. That's not the answer I want.
Right. Yeah. When I hired a payroll manager, I no longer worried about payroll. Wrong. That's not it.
How do you know when to hire? What would you say to that?
I think it's a great question. I'm going to speak to it in two different ways. One, I think that if you're going to hire friends or family, you're right. It can be very, very dangerous. It can be, I would never say don't do it, especially when the fact is that I have a daughter who works for us and Kathryn and I work together and we do something that a lot of people say you can't do. You've got to have a lot of emotional intelligence. Mm-hmm. And you've got to have grown in personally, be able to honor people, be able to admit you're wrong, and have and be able to just have a significant, people believe you're a good leader and you believe you're a good leader, because I think it can work amazingly well, but you have to, if you don't have those things, you could blow it up really easily. Mm-hmm. If you're one of those people and you hire friends or family who also are not mature, you could blow it up, because it's really more of an emotional maturity. And so I'm going to say this, first things first, when you need to hire somebody, you need to go, okay, is the company paying itself? Is the company taking care of its own bills? Because I'm going to say some things that sound really elementary, and you're going to go, yeah, Michael, those are basics, but you're probably also going to recognize this from work with your own clients and stuff. It's amazing how many people build up a company and they don't take a paycheck. And so I'm like, when somebody says, no matter how successful a company is, I only take what's left over, Kathryn and I go, red flags.
Yeah.
You can't run a business like that. It's dangerous.
Nor should you be hiring somebody if you can't pay yourself, because you begin to resent them because they're actually making money and you're not. And that is problematic.
We brought on, unless they're a salesperson, and then they're really justifying themselves. But as in general, we talked with one woman who her and her two partners started in a company. They had 24 employees, I believe. They were a $6 million a year company. She still wasn't paying herself regularly. Wow. I'm like, what? And she was burning out. She's dying. She's thinking.
Well, yeah, sometimes money fuels the fire to keep going, but it's not everything, but still. It's
right.
Why wasn't she doing the paycheck thing?
Right.
And well, she had fallen into that trap where you're going to grow the company. Someday it will be fine. And what they didn't do is organize their priorities in a sense of, we've got to figure out how to run this company and pay ourselves as part of the expenses. It's got to be part of payroll's got to be in there, and then we've got to be included in payroll, and then we'll grow the company from extra money on the outside, because they were looking for the big, everything was going to be fine. The next big mark. They started at 2 million and then went 3 million and then they went to 6 million. And the next thing she was telling us is, oh, it's going to be better when we get to 10 million.
We're like, no, it's not. It's just going to be bigger.
You're just going to have bigger problems.
Same problem, bigger problem. Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
You'll just have another comma to worry about. So when you
another comma,
like one more zero, it's not going to solve your problem.
So what happens is we tell entrepreneurs and business people is that's the first thing. And a lot of people pass that test, but they don't always. If you're doing that and the company's profitable, then you're like, okay, I need to figure out how I can't accomplish everything I need to accomplish because the company's growing, it's healthy or something, or we have opportunity. So then you start looking at, do I hire either a freelancer, a part-time vendor, or a full-time, or an employee part-time or full-time? In today's world where you have so many different opportunities, we would say that when you're managing your team or leading your team, you could have somebody on salary or on payroll. You could have a vendor you use part-time, a 1099, and you could have somebody who's just a part-time consultant. And so now you're kind of mixing and matching. You still have a team. You still have financial responsibilities. You still have to pay them. When a bill from a vendor comes in, it's no different than payroll.
Right.
You still have to, and they're still charging you all of their needs for taxes and everything else. So you're not even getting away from that. So we tell them, okay, if you need the help and you're somewhat healthy, then start looking for somebody. And then this is the first thing I tell them. When you hire somebody, I don't want you to hire somebody that is just a nice person and that would be a fit for your culture. And I don't want you to hire somebody who just knows how to get the job done. You're looking for somebody who balances both competence and character. They have to be competent at the skills you're hiring for, and they have to be a good fit for your culture, your company. And if you're small, they have to be a good fit for you, because you're going to spend a lot of time working with them, and you need to make sure that happens. And if you have competence and character, we're taught that both of those are the two parts of trust. So trust can build, and in business, high trust means more profit and things happen faster. And so that's what we tell is how do you know when to start and what is it going to look like? Because if you want to accomplish something, solopreneur is great and it's fantastic. But if you want to accomplish something big and go far, you can't do it alone. You got to go with a team, whether they're outsourced team or whether they're on your payroll. And then we start from there and have that conversation. And then the goal is to try and demystify having employees, because so many people are terrified for either, I don't know how I'm going to handle all the taxes. I don't know how I'm going to handle having that responsibility and that stress, or I don't know how I'm going to handle having employees because I believe, or I've heard that they're such a pain in the butt.
I know, as an employee, I was.
Yeah. And some people.
I was a really good employee. I'll just correct that record.
I was delightful.
I have a hard time believing you were nothing but great. Give me some feedback. Does that make sense? Am I being clear enough?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so the other concept I was thinking about is when a person starts a business, they're solopreneur, right? They're just starting on their own. And there's an understanding, I think, that says, okay, until I get to X months or even a year in business, I know I have to sacrifice income, right? I know I can't run this business and start this business and take payroll the first time I get any kind of payment. Absolutely. It all has to be rolled in and compounded back into the business. And so have you, after talking with companies for 18 years, have you figured out a good time for an owner to really start taking a draw as part of payroll?
Yeah, actually, I think we have. I probably don't have it codified as well to just lay down as a straight thing, but let me give it a shot.
I'm like, yes.
Yeah, no.
Kathryn, I'm trying to help you get paid here. So
thanks, I appreciate that. I actually write the checks around here, so
I haven't seen a paycheck in probably 10 years.
He really hasn't.
To be honest.
He's like, "Do you pay me?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do, baby. So you're good. Keep going." Trust me.
So yeah, she tells me I get paid.
Every once in a while, I show it to him just so he feels good. Look, honey, it's your paycheck. I'm gonna take it now.
Sign here. Sign on the back.
So, I do that too.
So there's a graph I draw on the whiteboard, and imagine it's a standard graph that moves left to right, and on the left-hand side is money, dollars, and there's a line you can calculate. You have to figure out what it is, where all of your expenses and all your costs are paid for. So immediately you start to go, in a very simple scenario, I sell a widget. I buy 100 widgets a week to sell. How much does it cost me to buy those widgets when they're completely made? We call that cost of goods sold. Some people may recognize that term and go, yep, elementary stuff. But really, if you're making it or manufacturing it, all the things that go into making that widget. And then there's the expenses you have. It's a phone, a business license, basic taxes, stuff like that. And we talk about this in the finance chapter because it's so critical. It's amazing how many people don't figure this out. So you start doing some basic stuff. You can do it with Quicken, you can do it with Excel or even Google Sheets, and start building out a basic balance. So you're going, here are the expenses, here's what it costs to get the product and sell it and market it and everything else. And that we have that as a red line, and anything below the red line, you're not making. If you don't have enough money coming in, you're not making it. And in the beginning, every business I've ever seen in my life, like you were talking about, is underneath that red line in the beginning. And you just you have to plan for it. Hopefully the goal is to get above that red line as fast as possible. Some companies like Chewy.com, which your viewers may know of as a pet store online, they started and they sold 7 years later for $3.5 billion to PetSmart.
Wow, I did not know that. Wow.
They actually never were above the red line.
Can you imagine?
What they did is they calculated the costs, and they realized our goal is to build a company extremely large. And then after we get to a certain elevation, kind of like a rocket or a jet plane, it takes a lot of fuel to get up to elevation. Imagine that red line is your elevation, and you're going to spend a lot more fuel, a lot more energy, or a lot more money. And that's what they did at PetSmart. And the small companies like Kathryn and I were, when we started in the spare bedroom and converted the garage and moved there, and then we moved to an office space, we were investing money, doing the best we could, trying to figure out what that looked like. And if you start taking money out of salary before you hit that red line, you're going to compromise the whole thing. You're kind of pushing it back. So it's good to have extra funds set up for investing in the company to start it. It may be that you want to do a side hustle when you're building your company in the beginning, because you either need investment money or you need something else that's paying the bills. So you don't need this thing to feed you. But once you get to that place where your expenses, the cash coming in, the profit and everything else, the revenue coming in is above that red line, then that's the time you start going, okay, what do we need to do to, now that we've got all that stuff in, I need to start calculating in what it's going to cost for me to take a salary. Because then the next step is, what does it cost for you to stop taking investment money and losing money, or stop your other job And as soon as that company can get to a place where it can afford you, then all of a sudden you've got this, and it being a business, you have this decision. When do I want to do that? How do I navigate that? That's the beauty of entrepreneurialism is I'm gonna make that a conjugation somehow.
Entrepreneurism.
And once you do that, I mean, it's so exciting, but like it's a chess game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you get to do. You started your own business so that you could make these decisions. Now you get to make these decisions. And in some days you're going to look at yourself and you're going to go, I have to make these decisions because nobody else will.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I think you can start paying yourself and then the rest of business, in my opinion, is especially to 7 figures and then even to 8 figures is adjusting and figuring out how much money goes back into the company to hire more staff, because you're always playing that difference of I took money out. Now I've got to put money back in. I took money out. I've got to put money back in to build and to achieve whatever those goals are that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. And so tell everybody about your book. What's it called and how can they get it?
So it is called Fulfilled, and they can get it at fulfilledthebook.com.
Very complicated.
Very complicated. If you're international, it's on most Amazon platforms
around
the world. So definitely, fulfilledthebook.com if you're in the States, but Amazon if you're not. And that's where you get it.
And at fulfilledthebook.com, it's half price of what it is on Amazon. On Amazon, there's the hardback, paperback, Kindle, and Audible. So we did
in our lovely voices. So if you like our voices, great. If you don't get the Audible.
Don't do that. Don't do that
to yourself.
You have lovely voices.
And then on our website, the book is half off and with free shipping. So we charge $10 for the paperback. And then there's some extra bonuses, some cool stuff and pieces and parts and lots of resources that you can get with the book.
Yeah.
So if you're interested at all and budgets at all concern, or you just want to check us out, that's the best place to go.
Fulfilled the book.
Fulfilledthebook.com.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're an international radio show, and so we have businesses that listen to us all around the world. So it's kind of, right in line with what you're doing. Have you found American businesses any different from other countries in their mentality or their mindset where they set up and don't have this foundation?
I believe so. That's a great question. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I mean, it's like the problem has nothing to do, in my opinion, with the United States. It's a human problem. We get excited about a product. We start a company. We don't understand what we're doing, and we don't have the structure to support it. Kathryn's, it doesn't sound like it, but Kathryn's British. All this stuff works in Great Britain. We've got friends in Australia, South Africa, that have read the book and are applying the practices across the board. And even in poverty-stricken countries where people are just doing some of these great small entrepreneurial ventures, the fundamentals of business are still the same because people are still involved.
Yeah, it's interesting because, one of the things, along with the business failure rate that we were trying to address when we were kind of going after this thing was Gallup did a poll, and it was a worldwide poll. And you can read about it I think it's called The Coming Jobs War, written by Jim Clifton, who was the CEO of Gallup. So they did this global poll, and it was like, we need to know what's on the mind of the world. And in the middle of that, they discovered some really interesting things. One was that what was on the mind of the world, top number one, was finding a good job. And by a good job, it meant I'm working for one employer at least 30 hours a week, and I'm able to meet my expenses, essentially, right? And then they have a whole bunch of other things that are in that list. But one of the things they discovered, and this was global, this wasn't the US, this was global, was that 74% of the workforce is disengaged. And they define disengaged as sleepwalking through the day.
Wow.
So you take the 74% of disengaged workers and you go, could that be at least part of why all these businesses fail? Because they're not somehow figuring out how to create teams that are excited about the mission and vision of that company and willing to do the work to keep it moving forward. They're just showing up and punching a clock. Right? So that's the other piece of it, is like, how do we build healthy companies so that, because we care a lot about the leaders having really a place where they're meeting their dreams and doing the things that they want to do. But we also care about the workers. We want our employees to have passion and provision jobs. We don't, so we're creating passion and provision companies so that we can create passion and provision jobs, because not everybody is an entrepreneur. And as much as people struggle, I would argue that it is a privilege to employ people. It's a privilege. So if we can create a solid company and they enjoy coming to work, then we're impacting their life. We're impacting their kids' lives, the community, and they're basically demonstrating for their kids that work is not a bad thing, that work is a gift. Because they come home happy from work, not like, I hate my job and I hate my boss and people suck and, all those things that are 74% apparently of people are saying. So
I would say the percentage is a little bit higher even these days.
Yeah, probably.
So we don't know, you mentioned before, that it's a human condition, right, that we're going through. And we know that, probably one of the best types of businesses that are built by word of mouth is referral marketing, network marketing, all of those, affiliate attraction marketing, those kinds of things. And I think a lot of people start those businesses because they see the passion, they see the widget, and they get excited and they go, wow, my friends would love this lipstick, this X product, whatever, right? Whatever it might be. And so they get excited, they sign up, right? And now they have a business, but they have no idea what they're doing. Will your book help in the network marketing and relational business type model?
That's a great question.
That is a great question.
Let me think about that a second.
I know my initial
quick thinking. Calculate.
Well, so while you're thinking, my initial response is a business is a business is a business.
Yeah.
So if you start even a network, affiliate, attraction, all those things, you still have to know what you're doing to run a business. You still have to actually work with people. You still have to actually be a leader, because even if you're just doing your thing, you're still doing it with other people at some level. So understanding how business works, I think is critical for any business, including someone who just wants their friend to have lipstick.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to agree.
Phew. He's going to agree.
Yes.
It's a good day. It's a good day.
I'm going to say yes, it is, for two different reasons. The first reason is, I think depending on how much you're throwing into this, like, if you're just making extra date money for your
coffee money, Starbucks,
something like that. And you know what? How deep does your knowledge of business and everything need to go? Probably not a lot, but at the same time, if you want to make your energy and your efforts go farther, giving yourself a little education is going to help. Beyond that, if you really actually want to be significant about that, that means, instead of 4 hours getting me, $100 a month, if I'm in one of those little situations, 4 hours might get me $300 a month. Because you want to make sure that you've got a good lever and you're putting it in the right place and you're pulling the right ones. I think the other part is this: if you're doing this, in any affiliate marketing program or anything like that, there's a ranking system.
Yep.
And rewards, and they're trying to entice you. I should say any good one, any one that's profitable or really has sustainability and stuff like that. So if you're in that, you want to grow and you want to do it, reading a book like Fulfilled and understanding those fundamentals, if nothing else, it gives you a really clear idea of what those people who are selling the product that you're being an affiliate for are trying to do, what they're looking for, so that you can actually interact with them at that level, because that's exactly what they're doing. They're running a whole business and they're using you as part of their marketing process. Right. And if that's the case, then you understand how that system works and you can help them be more successful, which in turn gives favor, and they're going to be working with you more, help you more, and you'll rise up even in those things, getting the extra cash bonuses and different things like that. So yeah, I think it would. When you first asked that, I'm like, what a great question, because we don't talk directly about that business, but I think it does impact, because again, it's business.
Well, yeah. And even in the marketing sales chapter, we just talk about marketing. It's humans. You're talking to human beings. You're developing a relationship with human beings. So you have to follow whatever you're doing. You have to follow a similar model as you would if you were actually just like trying to take someone out on a date, right? You don't just like walk up to the person and say, "Hi, nice to meet you. Can we name our children?" To quote a friend of ours, right?
You went a little closer, further along. I was going to say, "Hi, would you like cream and sugar in your coffee? And when would you like to be married?"
Right.
Yep.
Close.
Exactly. Right.
Right. So even in that, just even pulling back and thinking about how human relationships mirror good marketing.
Yeah.
It's just helpful. It's helpful.
Bottom line in affiliate marketing, if you're going to affiliate market, you either have to have you have to have a reach, a blog reach, an email reach, or something like that. So again, basic skills on marketing, so you can grow that, so you can grow your influence, so that you can make more money and to have a better date on Friday night.
Have a better date.
Hey, I didn't know this was a dating show. Wow.
We're married.
We're moving up.
I see your new niche, Redmans. I see your new niche.
I'm thinking, Lori, that we were supposed to be talking. You told your audience we'd be talking about marketing and branding, and I'm afraid we've terribly disappointed them on that front, because we've hardly talked about that at all.
But really, it's all about people, and marketing is all about people, and branding. So let's talk about this. Branding really is a unique message that you put in the marketplace, and I've said this to somebody recently that you cannot tell somebody your message if you don't know who you are. Branding is a unique message, so you have to know who you are before you even put your message out there. So that's branding. Marketing is just letting everybody know what your message is. There, we've talked about branding and marketing. Now back to dating.
Back to dating.
Well, and we would say, just to throw a couple of other things in your quiver to think about, when we talk about brand, when we talk about your brand, we actually say your brand is your reputation. Right? You can influence it, but you can't control it, but you better work hard to influence it. So your brand is your reputation. And then branding is bonding. So it's when somebody becomes attracted to your reputation, now you're branding. So reputation and bonding.
It's a simplified way of looking at it, but it helps when we're working with our clients, because it's like, okay, look, the goal in all of marketing is not to alienate people. You want to build a relationship and draw them in.
People work with people they like.
That's right. No, like, and trust. That's the formula for sure.
The only time they buy from somebody they don't like is when they're fairly addicted and they don't have any other choice, and they're willing to buy from a jerk.
That's right.
The drug out on the street corner, they're willing to buy from you. Okay.
Yeah. You're hungry. It's lunchtime. There's the hot dog cart. Yeah.
Or go across the street to the other hot dog cart that serves much better hot dogs.
Right. But you're afraid to cross the road. So
we have all kinds of problems here. And
I think sometimes, owners of businesses, especially when they're starting out, they're under that pressure to meet the financial objectives that they want to run into a relationship with a customer, and they don't have time. Like, I don't have time to wait for them to love me. I want them to just buy, and I think they try to compare themselves to these bigger corporations that are advertising on TV, where they can advertise a widget and infomercials and people buy them, right? Because they're hitting a different kind of audience, and infomercials really aren't building a relationship. They're super selling, and so owners will sometimes feel like, I have an infomercial and I want you to buy it, and it doesn't work that way. It's got to be built on a relationship.
I'll tell you what, if anybody is interested in that kind of stuff and they're thinking about it and they want to know the hazards of it, Malcolm Gladwell, in his latest book, interviewed Ron Popeil. and it might have been the second to the latest book. So Ron Popeil was like one of the famous guys on infomercials.
Mm-hmm.
He sold more stuff, and his dad was amazing at it. And yet it caused a family rift, and they had all kinds of challenges, and they had people going broke in their family, because even in that market that looks so amazing and everybody thinks they're getting rich, there have been moments where they got rich and then all of a sudden they lost everything.
Wow.
So even that direct sales, where it's like, it looks, so many people, when they don't study, they make an assumption because they've seen some stuff, and they assume because somebody's on TV, or they assume because whatever, and they make assumptions that somebody's being successful, when it turns out that they're long-term, they're not being successful at all. It's dangerous. It really is. So there's some, I mean, I like direct sales. I love direct sales, actually. I think it's pretty fun, but it's like playing high stakes poker.
Yeah.
It can be pretty dangerous, and you're all in, and that pot's sitting out there, and you could get the wrong card and somebody else takes your pot.
That's right.
And all of a sudden you're like, wow, that was a lot of fun.
Well, we play Texas Hold'em here, so
There you go. There you go.
I would stand on the outside and watch, because I have no clue.
Well, yeah, it's you're very much true. I mean, the business world is very much a gamble, you know, and you have to be smart, take those risks. You know, they say an entrepreneur is somebody who jumps out of a perfectly good airplane and builds the parachute on the way down, right?
Yep.
But a risk taker is somebody who jumps out of a perfectly good airplane and has no plans for a parachute.
That's a problem. I can see how that's a problem.
That's definitely a problem. That would not be good.
No.
It's very bad. So people want to talk to you. They want to work with you. They, you know, feel like they're at that level where they might need a mentor of your caliber. How do they reach out to you, and how do you collect client information?
So probably the best thing to do, they can either go to fulfilledthebook.com. There's links on our bio and everything else, or they can go to our main company site, which is halfabubbleout.com. It's all spelled out, HALFABUBBLEOUT.com.
Agonizing, but fun.
It's horrible, and it's horrible to say the first time. People never forget it the second after that. halfabubbleout.com, and we literally we interview clients, making sure we're a good fit for them. They're a good fit for us. It's a good fit in multiple ways, and making sure we can help you. Mm-hmm. And then, so there's a process we'll go through a phone conversation and everything else. And then if that's a good fit and it looks good, then we can move forward. We love to work with folks, and we love good conversations.
So half a bubble out. We're going to wrap with this. Where did that come from? There's got to be a story.
There's always a story.
There is a story, Kathryn.
Do you want me to tell the story?
I want you to tell the story.
Oh, goodness. So before we started the business, we were in a different career, and Michael was looking at potentially going back to school because he hadn't finished his undergrad degree at this point. We were in our 20s. And I asked a mentor of ours, do you think that Michael needs to go back to school? And the mentor said, well, Kath, your husband is a half a bubble out. So now a half a bubble out. This is think about the carpenter's level, where if you're hanging your picture and the level is there, it's just slightly
If it's not
tilted.
level, the bubble starts to fall out of the line.
Yeah.
Well, basically he was saying, your husband's not quite level.
Right. But he said, because he's super smart. He's super smart, but you should probably just get the degree out of the way. So we started laughing about that, and then sent Michael back to school. And when he graduated and we decided that we needed to start this company, it was like, we have to call it half a bubble out. We just have to. So we tell people who are like not ready to hear the whole truth, we just say, it's a different way of saying we think creatively.
We think out of the box. We look at the world from a different perspective.
Outofthebox.com was gone, so we went for half a bubble out.
That's awesome. That is not the story I was expecting, but
okay.
It absolutely aligns with who you are. That's perfect.
We look at the world, and really what happens is we look at the world from a little bit different perspective, and I've been accused of it a lot. But what it does is it allows us to solve problems. And you think about that dog, or anytime you're confused, somebody looks at you, if they're confused, they pop their head sideways really quick. Like, what? And it allows us to kind of look at something like, I'm sure, that's what I'm seeing. I'm confused at what's going on there. And it's fun because it's amazing how many times you just got to step back and look from outside the bottle and look at the world, and you can solve a lot of problems.
That is so awesome. You guys have been amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been fun.
Well, thank you. We've had a blast.
We've had a blast.
You are enjoyable and you're very good at what you do.
Oh, thank you. Oh, wow. That's great. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, we have a saying around here, if you're not having fun, then just, you're doing it wrong. So stop it.
Absolutely.
Well, we've had plenty of fun today.
We would concur.
We definitely had a great time. So thank you again for coming on. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hanging out with us. I really appreciate you tuning in. Please share this video out to all of your friends who are entrepreneurs or they're thinking about starting a business. You really have to have the foundations in place to be successful. Don't let that just be pushed under the rug and think, oh, I'll get to it, because you need to get to it before you start anything else. And so get their book, fulfilledthebook.com. And if you would like to be a guest on the Dunham Business Radio show, we'd love to talk to you about that. Just send us an email to DunhamBusinessRadio@gmail.com. And like I said, share this video, download our book, startamazonstore.com, digital download. 20% goes back to a nonprofit of your choice. And until next week, everybody, stay on top of the world. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Dunham Business Radio Show. Be sure to follow us at Dunham Business Radio and check out DunhamBusinessRadio.com for more info.
I'm on top of the world, now I'm living, and the good just gets better, keeps it giving, not even close to the end.